Thank you so much for being here. I am so thrilled that so many people have turned up on this very sad day, which should not really be happening at all.
Do you know who this person is? She's probably one of the most important people you've never heard about. Listen to her introduction.
Farhana Yamin was the architect of the Paris Climate Agreement. She also was the coordinator of XR's political strategy group. Give it up for Farhana, please.
How was Farhana one of the architects of the Paris 2015 agreement? Well, her number one contribution was getting net zero by 2050 incorporated into the agreement. The campaigning NGO she founded, Track Zero, is widely credited with getting the goal of net zero emissions by mid-century into the Paris Agreement through strategic communications and behind-the-scenes political and diplomatic coalition building. It doesn't explicitly state it, but here's how the United Nations explains it. To keep global warming to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, as called for in the Paris Agreement, emissions need to be reduced by 45% by 2030 and reach net zero by 2050. Now, you're all going to say that net zero by 2050 is being used as an excuse by governments and big business to avoid making cuts sooner, and by using the words net zero allows big business and governments to carry on polluting and then pretend they're going to be offset somehow magically into the future. She knows this. She knows much more about climate change than any of us.
I know many of you are sceptical about climate negotiations in the UN, that you're wondering why we're now at COP30. But I want to tell you that back in 1991, in the 90s, we were facing a 6-degree world. We were facing a 6-degree world, and we're not facing that. We are not anywhere near the Paris limits of 1.5, and it took the small island states and climate scientists 10 years to get 1.5 on, as it were, the international statute books and into the consciousness and into the realm of national policy making. But we're not looking at 6 degrees, we're looking at much, much less, and that is a credit to all of those. So whatever your cynicism, skepticism, your tactical views of the climate negotiations, please understand they're the only fora for the vulnerable countries of the world to have a say, and those countries are turning up despite those meetings being hijacked, captured, corrupted by fossil fuel interests, just like our own legal system here and our own government is now heavily lobbied and corrupted, I would say, by fossil fuel interests, and we must stand up against that.
She's been a lead author on 3 of the 6 Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change assessment reports, those reports published every 6 or 7 years that the world's governments sign up to. Not only was she at the Paris 2015 COP, she was at the very first COP at Kyoto.
I guess the one point that I can say as someone who's been negotiating legal commitments since 1991, I was there at COP1. There's a fantastic play called The Kyoto, which is on this for the next few months. Please go and see it, and you will understand that actually the commitment by the whole world to create a kinder, greener, more just world is very strong and is overwhelming. The arc of the universe is bending towards justice, and it is because of actions like this, it is because of movements like this, it is because of all of those people standing up in solidarity with the vulnerable countries and communities.
Her name appears throughout the history of trying to tackle climate change. She coordinated XR's political strategy in 2019. Do you know why that year is important? It's the year of the first big Extinction Rebellion protests that led to the UK Parliament declaring a climate emergency. These things don't happen by accident. As the political strategy person for XR, she was really important. She's glued herself to the ground outside the show headquarters, so she talks the talk and she walks the walk. Sometimes you hear people say, well, the scientists should speak up much more than they do. Some scientists are good at speaking up. Some climate scientists I met are quite dull, plodding people who would never have any hope of inspiring people. But Farhana Yamin is a lawyer. Lawyers are experts at winning arguments, at speaking in public. She's worked on climate issues with China, India, South Africa and Brazil. She's founded all sorts of local groups whose aims are to improve social justice and improve the local environment. It seems to me she's one of those people who doesn't stay at home and complain about things during a global emergency. but she goes into the world and does something about it. Remember, a global emergency isn't a time for victims, it's a time for heroes. So we should all thank Farhana Yamin for what she's done and try our best to follow her example. Certainly, she's done more probably than the rest of us put together, especially more than the Count Everything channel. So, thank you and well done, Farhana. Here, Farhana is speaking up in support of 16 non-violent protesters who've been given very long prison sentences. She's speaking out of a sense of injustice. Remember, injustice isn't just something that humans don't like. We're social animals, we have a great sense of right and wrong. Injustice is something that disgusts us.
I want to just use the next few minutes, and I won't keep you long because I know many of you are getting cold and the court needs to happen very shortly, but I really want to pay tribute to the individuals whose cases are being heard today in the appeal. 16 very ordinary people who have sacrificed their liberty, sacrificed their own lives for climate truth. People who have gone and done actions that have really caught the imagination, yes, have caused disruption, but that disruption is so needed. So first and foremost, to my former XR colleagues and friends, we are really with you, out here with you. Wherever we are in the movement right now, we are with you. And also extreme solidarity and love to all of the people also who have supported actions highlighting the link between climate, crony capitalism, racism and imperialism by taking action against the war in Gaza, against the genocide in Gaza, against the continued complicity of the UK government in this genocide by continually exporting military equipment in contravention of our own human rights obligations. It is a very sad day when we have a former Director of Prosecution, one of the leading human rights lawyers this country has had, who is now our Prime Minister, absolutely turning his back on the very laws that he used to uphold. It is absolutely sad, and we will fight this. I will fight this. I think everyone who is here is committed, and please understand that even the decisions that are being made today, the announcement of the green lighting of the Heathrow decisions, we will fight these in the courts, we will fight these in the streets, we will fight these in our communities, we will fight these everywhere, and these will not prevail. I promise you they will not prevail, because they are not the kind of growth we want, they are not the decisions we want, they are not in line with our climate commitments, our biodiversity commitments, or all our human rights commitments. And I think, again, all of you are here and need to understand this appeal and the way in which these punitive sentences, which is what they are, these are punitive sentences that are unfair, completely disproportionate and politically motivated. This should not be happening, and I hope that we will carry on resisting, fighting, uniting our movements, and hopefully we will have a successful outcome tomorrow. And if not, we will be here until we do get to 1.5, reduce that, and we stand in solidarity and build that kinder, human rights respecting world that I know is possible and is mandatory to all civilized and human rights respecting countries around the world. So I hope that you will stay strong on that, and look forward to working with many of you on that.